The bye weeks have started. We are getting into the heart of the season. Let's make some picks. Alright, our Thursday night game is going to be Washington taking on Chicago. What more can you say about the Commanders other than they just don't look good? Ron Rivera has to be on his last legs. This team just looks like they're getting worse and worse week after week. Meanwhile, for Chicago, I feel like Justin Fields just had his best game this year last week. But it's still a process. I'm going to go with Chicago over Washington, but at this point, anything goes. San Francisco taking on Atlanta. For Atlanta, I cannot believe that roughing the passer call. That was unbelievable, and the fact that it was defended, I just cannot believe it. That should not have been called. Meanwhile, San Francisco able to pick up a win last week against Carolina. As much as I would like to see Atlanta get some revenge, I just don't see it. I think San Francisco is going to take this game. New England taking on Cleveland. For New England, they just shut out the Detroit Lions. I mean, they really dominated that game. Meanwhile, Cleveland lost on a last-second field goal miss. That had to hurt. I'm going to pick them winning at home against the Patriots. Jets taking on the Packers. For the Jets, that was a very impressive second half against the Miami Dolphins. They really showed just how improved they are from last year. Meanwhile, for the Packers, coming off their trip to London, lost to the Giants. I'm going to pick them to rebound over the Jets. Jacksonville taking on Indianapolis. These two teams met in week 1. Jacksonville was able to pull out the win. For Indianapolis, this team, they may be 2-1, but they just don't look that good. Yes, they picked up a win against Denver, but that was an extremely boring game. I'm going to go with the Jaguars over the Colts on this one. I feel like the Jaguars look like the better team. Minnesota taking on Miami. For Miami, we do not know who their starting quarterback is going to be. Teddy Bridgewater was knocked out of the game. They had to put him in concussion protocol because of the new protocol after what happened with Tua Tagovailoa. We don't know if Tua's going to be able to play. Probably not would be my guess. So it might fall on Skylar Thomas, their rookie late-round pick. Meanwhile, for Minnesota, this team really looks like a contender this early on. I'm going to pick them over the Dolphins. Cincinnati taking on New Orleans. For Cincinnati, lost on a last-second Justin Tucker field goal. Yeah, everybody's been there. Meanwhile, for New Orleans, they're coming off a win against the Seahawks. This one, I think, is going to be a little back and forth. But in the end, I'm going to pick Cincinnati to win this game. Baltimore taking on the Giants. For Baltimore, they held Cincinnati to 17 points, kept Jamar Chase in check, and held Joe Burrow to under 300 yards passing. Very impressive, especially back-to-back weeks against Josh Allen and Burrow. Nice job by the passing defense. Meanwhile, for the Giants, they're coming off a really good win in London against the Packers. This team has been impressive this year, I will admit. I mean, they are 4-1. They're looking good. And I'm going to pick them over the Ravens. Tampa Bay taking on Pittsburgh. For Tampa Bay, yeah, they got lucky. Falcons were coming back, and then the roughing the passer call. Falcons never got the ball back. If the Falcons get the ball back, who knows what happens? Tampa Bay should be counting their blessings. Meanwhile, for Pittsburgh, in Kenny Pickett's first start, not great. I mean, a 38-3 loss to the Bills last week. Yeah, didn't look that great, and doesn't look any better when you're facing off against Brady and the Buccaneers. And I'm going to go with the Bucs over the Steelers. Carolina taking on the Rams. For the Rams, lost to the Cowboys last week. More on them later. Meanwhile, for Carolina, they lost last week to the San Francisco 49ers. Carolina just does not look good on offense right now, and they just fired Matt Rule. Really, they should have fired him last year, but, I mean, what can you do? We're not the owners. I'm going to go with the Rams over the Panthers on this one, but I want to see what happens with that interim coach for the Panthers. Arizona taking on Seattle. For Arizona, they came back against the Eagles, however, lost on a late field goal. Meanwhile, Seattle lost on the road to New Orleans. They're going to be back home against the division rival. I'm going to go with Seattle over Arizona. A little bit of a shocker, but I never doubt Seattle when they're at home. Buffalo taking on KC. Rematch of the divisional round last year. This should be the game of the week. I'm expecting a back-and-forth matchup for the Buffalo Bills coming off a really good win against the Steelers. There was no doubt with that game. Josh Allen, one of his best performances. Gabriel Davis, probably his best performance as a pro. Meanwhile, for the Chiefs, they had to come from behind against the Raiders, able to win. I'm going to go with the Chiefs over the Bills. I say at home, the Chiefs pull it off. And our Monday night game is going to be Denver taking on the Chargers. Now, this is another divisional matchup. And for Denver, we all saw the Thursday night game. It was not a good game. Both offenses just could not get going. Denver is still struggling in the red zone. And Nathaniel Hackett, his seat has to be getting warm right now, even though he's only coached for 5 games. Really just does not look good. Meanwhile, for the Chargers, they got extremely lucky against the Browns. Went for it on 4th down, didn't get it. Cleveland got the ball back, able to attempt field goal, but they missed it. Better be counting their blessings that he missed it, because they would have been crucified had they lost that game. As far as this game goes, I'm going to go with the Chargers over the Broncos on this one. I feel like their offense is going to be the difference. They have an offense that can score. Denver still has question marks there. So that's what I'm going to go with. And those are my picks for Week 6. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'll see you guys next time.